And this leads me to my question, Anna. In your opinion, is the arrest illegal?
Okay, let me explain it in a layman's term so that
That
our
would be
audience,
great.
our audience would understand more. Because if you put it in more legalistic framework,
Yeah.
or words, it would be difficult. But first and foremost, I would just rebut what Marcos Jr. have said, that the Philippine government cooperated. It's precisely because of its obligation to the Interpol in the very first place. If you really look and check the Interpol, and you know this, David, a red notice is not actually considered, or it is not equivalent to an international warrant of arrest. It is not. Everyone in this world knows that. And also the Interpol, it's just, it's showing a red notice, but the one who would arrest an accused, or the one who would arrest what you call the person of interest, is not necessarily the Interpol. It's actually the local authorities, or
Authority.
local enforcement, or agencies, or the police for that matter. And the police will not do anything if there's no command or order coming from up. And who's the up? It's actually Marcos Jr., because he's the commander-in-chief of both the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the PNP, or the police, the Philippine National Police. If he would not, he would say, "Oh, don't act on it. Read notice. It's nothing. Don't do anything." Then the police will not do anything. It's really from the top. And so I don't understand. This is a smoke screen that he's saying, that we just comply with our obligation, as a member of the Interpol. I don't think so. I really don't, and I don't believe in these things, because anyone in the Philippines can go to Interpol and ask them. And actually, the Interpol already made announcement and pronounced a statement saying that it was not us, but it was actually the local authorities who arrested former President Duterte. Just to be clear. So he is lying again. This president is a liar in every possible way. That is his problem from the beginning, actually. It's not now that he lies. He lied so many times. That is a basic problem of Marcos Jr. He's like a pathological liar. It becomes part of his system. He's good at these things. But now it's more exposed to the public, to the international community, and even to the Filipino people. Now, David, going back to your question, saying like, is it, as far as we are concerned, is it, because of course this is a debate at the moment. There are a lot of lawyers and a lot of people from different parts of the world studying this case, because it's a very controversial case at the moment. So many people would say it is not a kidnapping case, but as far as we are concerned, and even I think as far as the vice president is concerned, because she was actually interviewed about this, it's like a state kidnapping, and it was illegal in many ways as far as we are concerned. I listed some of the points that I want to raise specifically with this issue. The first thing is the arrest of the former president. Take note, it was a former president, a head of state who have done so much for the country, was really degrading, David. Okay, fine, given there was an arrest warrant, but come on, put it in a right context, do it in a proper way. But there was no such thing. It was degrading for a former president, what they have done. They apprehended him. He was still inside the plane, and he was shown by one person something. It's like, it was not a warrant of arrest, but something like a paper saying that he will be arrested, and it was on a phone, and he was asking, what do you have a document? Are you a lawyer? Because I am a lawyer. He was a prosecutor for so many years in Davao City. So he was asking, but they cannot even produce a document, because initially, David, there was no warrant of arrest. The warrant of arrest coming from the ICC came late in the afternoon. I was there because I was monitoring the whole thing, and we were broadcasting with Harry Roque and another friend, Maharlika. So we were there, so we can monitor everything. So at the initial stage, there was no warrant of arrest. So they apprehended him. He went down from the plane, but there's so many police. Imagine, David, arresting just one person. It's one person. they actually mobilized 7,000 policemen in full
Wow.
gear, a SWAT team. How can that's too much to arrest
Yeah.
a former president? Do you really think the old guy can run away? Of course not. I
Yeah.
mean, and he was only with his daughter, I think, and his common law wife. And those are one bodyguard, I think, and the former executive secretary. So there was a
Yeah.
very small entourage. So and they needed 7,000 full gear battle SWAT team,
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
SWAT team, to arrest a former president. That was
Yeah.
really degrading, as
Yeah.
if he was a criminal and already judged or convicted of something. It was really degrading for a former president. It's a shame for Marcos Jr. administration to even do that kind of courtesy to a former head of state of the country, of the Philippines. Second is the one that transported President Duterte to The Hague from the Philippines was a private jet, but it was actually the office of the president who paid for everything. But I don't think it was a state or an owned by the Philippine state. I think it was a private jet that was arranged early on. So everything was orchestrated really.
Wow.
Was planned because that jet or that plane was already in the Villamor Air Base, where he was detained for some time, for the whole day. And that plane, from what I know, because they sent me so many pictures of this even before he
Mm-hmm.
was going to be transported, and I said, "Oh my God, this is not even probably a state-owned aircraft. This is a private aircraft." And it was, according to the news today and yesterday, that it was the office of the president who actually paid for it. But Marcos Jr. lied in his press conference around midnight. He said to the Filipino public that the Philippine government did not cooperate with the ICC. When in fact he was the one who paid for it.
For it.
The office of his office paid for
Yeah.
it. You know, so there was
Yeah.
really lying is everywhere when you talk about
Yeah.
Marcos Jr.
Yeah.
Second is he denied access to legal relief and remedies in the Philippines. He was denied. He was just,
Wow.
he
Yeah.
was detained, and that's it. Even a pizza, when he was already in Villamor Air Base, he was hungry because he did not eat lunch yet.
Yeah.
He arrived at around roughly 10 a.m.
Yeah.
and then he did not have lunch yet. So he kind of asked food. So there was a pizza delivery. Initially, they did not allow the pizza delivery to be brought to the president. So he was like, "I'm hungry. I want to
Yeah.
eat pizza."
Yeah.
And there was
Which
no
is, yeah, which is a basic need when you for any,
unfortunately.
that's a basic right for a
Mm,
detainee, whatever, alleged detainee, whatever. You cannot deprive a detainee out of health, food,
mm,
water, and provide basic living conditions, whatever that might be. So it
yeah,
became clear, and correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah.
Will I be fair in saying that this is a targeted arrest?
Yes, I think it's a targeted arrest. It was a well-planned arrest, and
Mm,
it was orchestrated. And I think it was really orchestrated because lately I was traveling. I saw the news, and it was like the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of the Interior and Local Government, and the NSA, National Security Advisor, were
yeah,
were actually in charge of how they're gonna plan and how they're gonna execute the arrest. And it was a betrayal precisely because the National Security Advisor of Marcos Jr. was actually one of the cabinet secretary of the former president and was actually close to him during his time as president. So it was
yeah,
like shocking for me to read the news, and actually it was the Secretary of Interior and Local Government at the moment that who
yeah,
actually said all of these things in an interview in local media in the
yeah,
Philippines. So I was like, my God, the betrayal is just too much to witness for me.
yeah,
And these are his people, during his time as
yeah,
president. And
yeah.
then the other one is, and then he was transported to UAE in Dubai. But take note, David, Dubai or UAE is not a state party to the ICC.
CC, that's correct.
Yeah. It was not. The country is not a party to the International Criminal Court. I think, no, UAE, United Arab.
United Arab Emirates. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I think so. They kind of landed there and had 5 hours in transit. So I was like thinking, why in Dubai in the very first place, when in fact there's a lot of ICC member states and they can possibly talk to. But they can actually talk to other member states, and the other member states can actually cooperate with this kind of, quote unquote, arrest by the ICC. But I think from what I can sense, they really kind of pushed that time for the former president to be out of the country last Tuesday. They really was pushing it because they were thinking that a temporary restraining order from the Supreme Court will come out. So if that's the case, then you cannot bring the former president anywhere but in the country. So I think it was very deliberate from my observation that they really want the former president out of the country at that time and at that moment. Because I received some information that supposedly the plane should leave the Philippines or in Manila around 1 a.m. or roughly around 1 a.m. or after midnight. But out of the blue, the plane left very early, around 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the evening. I was monitoring the whole time. So I was like, wow, they really are, these people really pushed him out of the country. That it was crazy. For me to witness that was crazy. He was not given a due process. Imagine the old man is 80 years old. He has medical condition. He was not even given, David, a time frame to even pack up a suitcase, put all his clothes, socks, all of these basic things.
Basic
things like, and the medicines and the meds, because he needs to drink it. And I think the reason also why he was really in a hurry to go to Manila is for him to go to the hospital, precisely because his sugar was very high. So it has to go down because it will affect his health. So that's even the problem. He was not able to go to the hospital to check on his sugar. So I think they just did it somewhere in the Netherlands already. So, but even medicine, he was not able to pack. He was just, when he arrived from Hong Kong, that kind of clothes, what he was wearing is the whole thing that he was wearing all throughout the day. I think he had a chance when he was already in the plane to change. So that's really the degrading way of treating a former president, who is well loved by the Filipinos. But I think in terms of legal matters, in terms of procedural standards, first and foremost, I think there was lack of transparency, really, and lack of communication. Because 3 days before, there was already rumors, David, that there would be an arrest ready, pending upon the arrival of the former president in Manila from Hong Kong, because he was in Hong Kong for a family vacation. So we were like crazy, like, oh my God, is it from the ICC or what kind of arrest? So on my side, to be very frank with you, I was monitoring the ICC or the International Criminal Court website, if there's already some kind of an information, if there would be an arrest, and something to that effect. And I was monitoring as well the Interpol. So I'm like, but nothing. Friday, nothing. Saturday, nothing. Sunday, nothing. Monday, nothing. And then Tuesday happened. But I saw the information that there was an arrest of a former president on the ICC website latter part of Tuesday afternoon. So there was lack of communication, and even during the weekend, David, the how do you call, the Department of Foreign Affairs of the Philippine government said that there was no communication at all from the ICC that there will be an arrest warrant coming from the ICC. Second, the undersecretary, one of the undersecretaries, I think, of the Department of Justice, and said that there was no such thing, an ICC arrest. And then I think the Solicitor General or the state lawyer of the Philippines also said, Minardo Guevara, that there was no such thing. There's no arrest, no communication from the ICC whatsoever. So everyone was everyone have this confidence that it was not an ICC arrest. Or so if we're saying like, okay, if it's a local court, it's fine. There are, you know, remedies, there's a due process. So maybe there was a warrant of arrest, but you can bail depending on the